Welcome to the Author's Edge radio show with Guy L. Freer and Bob Price. Now, their show airs nationwide on the My Genre Radio Network, Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. Welcome to the Author's Edge radio show with Guy L. Freer and Bob Price. Now, their show airs nationwide on the My Genre Radio Network, Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. Each week on their show, they help authors create books that transform our lives and imaginations. Through radio excellence, they create a unique community resource, one that promotes, connects, and fosters a sense of well-being. Gael and Bob maintain a focus on sharing books, publishing, marketing, and writing solutions. They serve listeners by providing outlets for their creative skills and energies, and they help them flourish in the competitive marketplace. Their weekly show provides intros, writing spotlights, helps you in promoting your book, your writing, your publishing, your marketing tidbits, and much more. Okay, audience, here's Gael and Bob.
And we're back. Well, today only I'm back. Unfortunately, Bob is under the weather, and so he's going to be home today. I am so sorry. So all you guys are going to have to listen to just me. But I have a very, very special treat for everybody today. We have with us Megan Lee. She is a country singer-songwriter from Piggott, Arkansas. Now, my literary friends should remember that that is where our favorite writer comes from, which is Hemingway. And we're going to talk about that later. She grew up traveling and singing in her family's bluegrass band and developed a love for music at a young age. She began songwriting at 12 years old. She attended at MTSU and studied recording industry and is currently working on releasing her own music in 2024. And I thought it would be such a cool treat to have her start our show with a song that she hasn't even released yet. So you all are going to get a treat here. She's going to sing Long as I'm Living. Go for it, Megan.
All right. Veins are full of muddy water. There's gravel in my soul. I was born along the state line where the honeysuckle grows. There's a Bible on my dashboard and a pistol in my console. And I was taught by Daddy how to use them both. And when I say my prayers at night, I thank God I'm alive. And I ask him how my grandma's doing up there in the skies. I thank him for my blessings. Not a single day goes by. Long as I'm living, I'll be living this country way. My roots are like the Mississippi, running deep and wide, and my heart is rusty like my grandpa's Ford sitting in the drive. And when life gets hard, I know how to pray and not lose hope. And I was taught by Mama how to do them both. So when I lay my head at night, I thank God I'm alive. I ask him how my grandma's doing up there in the sky. And I thank him for my blessings. And not a single day goes by. Long as I'm living, I'll be living this country way. Long as I'm living, I'll be living this country way of life.
Wow.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. That is absolutely terrific. So, you want to tell us about that song?
Yes, this song essentially is just a story about how I grew up, and country music has been a part of my life since I was born. The very first place that I went after I was brought home from the hospital was a bluegrass festival. So it really is. It's like a way of life to me. And so these lyrics are completely true to who I am. And yeah, so it's all about me and how I grew up and how it really is a way of life for me. And I talk a little bit about like my grandmother. She was a huge influence in my songwriting and just my singing in general. She was a huge supporter of me. And so part of this song is also to honor her.
To honor her.
Her name was Pearl.
Her name was what?
Pearl Johnson.
Pearl Johnson. Okay. And she was the motivator behind a lot of the song.
Yes.
What was your favorite childhood memory related to your music?
We traveled to so many different places. My dad and his brothers.
What's the name of your band?
Their band was called Four by His Grace, and we traveled to a lot of different churches and bluegrass festivals and played music. But my grandpa was also a part of that band, and so my grandma just followed us everywhere. She was kind of the roadie, if you will, and I have a lot of memories of just sitting in the pews with her and listening to them play music, and we would sing songs together, and she gave me a lot of wisdom. So I'd say one of my favorite memories with her was when I was playing the 4th of July festival in Piggott. I think I was about 13 years old, and she had come, and she brought her big clunky dinosaur video camera and was filming me and just yelling from the crowd. She was the only one yelling for me, but she was always there to support. So.
As a true grandmother would do,
Yeah.
they were always in the back. They were always yelling, singing in songs and yelling loud. But Piggott is also where Hemingway came from. And so did that have any influence on you?
Honestly, it's for me, it really didn't have any influence on my songwriting.
No,
per se.
I need to correct myself. It's not where he came from. It was where he married his second wife. That's where he did not come from there.
Yes, but it is the one thing about Piggott that people recognize. It's pretty much the only thing we have going for us. We had a McDonald's for about 4 months, and it got shut down because it was just such a small town and
it couldn't support it.
Out.
Yeah. Have you been to the Hemingway house there?
I have, yes.
Yeah, the Pfeiffer House is what I meant to say, the Pfeiffer House.
Yes, and I've seen where Hemingway would ride up in his loft. We got to go in the barn and check that out, which was really cool. And then the Pfeiffer House had a lot of crystals, which I'm really into, like minerals and crystals, and she had a huge collection in there. So it was really cool to check it out.
Yeah, it is. It's a cool place to go. I've taken my mom there, and I've taken my husband there, and we've gone there a couple of times. I've taken my French relatives there. They thought it was really cool too. So what inspires your lyrics the most?
Honestly, for me, it's a way to speak. I've always been kind of nervous about speaking to people in general. So this for me is a first, and I'm a little nervous, but
just think of this as talking in your kitchen
right?
with your grandma beside you, a cup of coffee or tea or your favorite beverage. We're just chilling here.
But no, for me, it's always just been another way to express my heart and express like what I care about the most.
What do you care about most?
I would just say it goes back to just like this song, the values that I grew up with and the way that I grew up. We were brought up in faith, and there are just several things that
for me have always been really important to express through my music. I've always wanted to be as genuine as possible and make people feel like a sense of being at home and feeling welcome through my lyrics. And so I like to say, as long as it's true to me, even if it doesn't resonate with everyone, there will be someone out there who hears this music and goes like, that's exactly how I feel. And so for me, I'd say what shapes my lyrics the most is just staying true to who I am.
Now, you also went to college,
I did.
okay?
MTSU.
And how does your education in the recording industry, how does that all fit in?
Mm-hmm. I got to learn from, in my opinion, one of the best songwriters that there is. His name is Odie Blackman.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a huge help as far as like learning song structure, and just opening up my mind to looking at things through a different lens and a different perspective, I would say, and gave me a lot of exercises that I can do to kind of open up like imagery and things like that
For
in
example,
my music. For example, he would have us do something called object writing. It was really interesting. This is actually kind of how I draw some of my inspiration when I go to sit in the creative process. We would sit and we would have like a 5 or 10 minute timer set
uh-huh.
and just pick an object in the room, like a clock or just whatever you can see, and then just write from the perspective of that object for 10 minutes.
Oh, how cool.
Mm-hmm. And one of my favorites was a leaf, like the life of a leaf and all the places it goes. And just kind of thinking about like senses. I think in songwriting, he would say there are 6 senses. And it's your sight, your smell, your feel, your taste. I struggle to remember all of them, but one of them was also like your spatial awareness.
Uh-huh.
And then if you were like on a roller coaster and you feel like your stomach drop, and I forget what that one's called. I can't remember at this second. I guess he taught me well enough, right?
But you remember the
Mhm.
activity.
Yes. And so I would say just doing different exercises like that. He was a really great teacher. And so learning from him was definitely something that shaped, I guess, just my creative process as a whole,
Mm-hmm.
and opened me up to some new perspectives.
What was the biggest challenge you face as a songwriter?
I would say inspiration versus motivation is the one that I struggle with the most.
What's the motivation?
The motivation is like, we all have this desire to be creative. Like, I feel like if somebody is a writer or a creative person,
Mhm.
it's like innate in us to want to create.
Mhm.
And then there's life and full-time jobs and burnout. And so for me, sometimes it's like I'll sit and I just write a song in 10, 15 minutes and it just comes to me. And then there are times when I sit to write a song and there's absolutely nothing and I have no idea where to start. And so,
Start with the leaf.
right? And so just doing something to get yourself writing a little bit every day, even if it's just journaling or meditation is really good too. But for me, that would be the biggest struggle. I think we still call it writer's block.
Yes, we do. We
Mhm.
call it writer's block.
So it's just the same in
For
songwriting.
songwriters, it's the same.
Mhm.
Yep. How do you hope people feel when they listen to your songs?
I hope they feel a connection to what I'm saying. I hope that they can take a sense of feeling like they're understood in some way
Uh-huh.
through my music. Yeah.
That they're understood.
Mm-hmm.
Can you describe the feeling you have when you finish writing a song?
Mm-hmm. When you finish a song, I like to compare it to giving birth, because it's you go and you do all the labor and it's like you adjust and tinker with everything, and it can be such a struggle. And then when you're done with the song and it's completely finished and you sit back and play it, it's like, that's my brain baby and it's all here.
How do you know when you have finished a song?
Oh, when I have a verse, chorus, a second verse, and a chorus, and maybe a bridge.
Well, see, because you see, now my husband's an artist. He's a sculptor. Okay.
Mhm.
And whenever I see him doing his artwork, all right, he has this piece and he'll say to me, "Oh, I'm done."
Mhm.
And then he'll walk away from it. And then he'll go back to it and he'll say, well, maybe not.
Right?
And then he'll tinker with this and he'll tinker with that and he'll do this and he'll do that. And then he'll walk away from it. He'll say, "Oh, I'm done with it." And then he'll go back to it.
Yep.
And then he'll say, "I'm done with it."
Yep.
And then he'll go back to it. And he keeps doing it and doing it and doing it. And we have pieces that he'll have in his studio that have been there for years. And he'll say, "I was never really happy with that."
Mhm.
And he'll go back and he will tinker with it some more and
Yes, that's
change it. And he'll change it
definitely-
completely.
It's definitely true in songwriting too, because it's like, and it's really cool to see how over time, even how like a song just minor changes as you develop and even just change as a person. When you go back and look at it and you can kind of see it evolve over time as you as a person evolve. I have songs that I've written when I was younger, and now it's like I look back and it's kind of like a bad yearbook photo. And you're like, why did I ever create
you ever
that?
do
But
that?
at the time it was so valid and so true to me. So yeah, I would say like songs the same way as art
Same way.
definitely
Absolutely.
continue to change, and
Absolutely.
production is a big exciting piece of that.
Now, when you have those songs from when you were a kid,
Mhm.
all right, and you see them and you look at them and you're like, "Oh, did I really write that horrible piece?" Do you change it or do you leave it?
Most of the time I'll leave it, because at the time to me it was something that
It was valid.
Yeah.
It was valid. Yeah,
Mhm.
it was valid. Okay. You're listening to Author's Edge with Gael Freer and Bob Price. And unfortunately, Bob Price isn't with us today, but he'll be back, coming to you weekly on Saturday at 10 a.m. on KWRH 92.9 and KXOK 102.9 FM, and Monday to Friday, 7 p.m. and 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. nationwide on the My Genre Radio Network. You can also view our latest videos of past shows at authorsedge.com online and download valuable information on marketing and publishing. So, how do you balance your personal experience with your fictional storytelling in your music?
I like to say, don't let the truth get in the way of the story. Even if I'm writing a story that's like about myself in a song, it's important to just keep an open mind of like the character itself. Even if that character is a personal experience like me, it doesn't have to necessarily be 100% truth. And so I think just like keeping an open mind to like a story as a whole. I think back on songs like we were talking about, She's in Love with the Boy. There are several songs, Strawberry Wine, that I've drawn inspiration just from the storytelling aspect. And so it's kind of cool because you can really write about anything, anyone, and just make up your own story. And the verses kind of support the main idea of the chorus in that. And so you can kind of play around a little bit. Like verse 1 may be the past tense, the chorus be present, and then verse 2 would expand on that. And so I think it's cool to just keep an open mind to just writing a story as a whole,
But keeping true to the story
but staying true. Yeah.
and true to yourself.
True. Yeah.
True to yourself.
Mhm.
Now, how many have you got any albums done? Have you got any? Tell me about that.
So I am one of those people where I have written, I couldn't tell you how many songs. I have hundreds of songs in the vault. And part of what I'm doing right now is choosing 4 or 5 of those songs and compiling together an EP. And that will be my first official release. And
How
so
exciting.
that's very exciting. It's also something that I kind of have to keep myself in check, because I think we all can be our own worst critic where that's
Oh,
concerned. So, but yeah, we are working on an EP right now, and that song that I just played is going to be the single of the EP.
Okay. And what do you mean by EP for people that are old and have no idea what EP means?
It's just called extended play. So it's 3 to 5 songs, and it's kind of like a condensed version of an album.
Okay. And is that going to be just is it going to be like an actual album that somebody could go to a store and purchase?
It will be on all streaming platforms. So
Uh-huh.
if you have Pandora, Spotify, Amazon Music,
Okay.
all the streaming platforms,
Who's
and
putting it
then
out?
me, just independent distribution. So we're kind of doing everything independently, and Jordan is helping with a lot of the production, and we're hiring just musicians and people that we know, friends that we have that are really talented musicians. And
How exciting
Mhm.
this is.
It's really just an independent project, so it is taking a little bit longer than we expected, but that's part of the fun really, is to be able to have the freedom to kind of do it our
That's
way.
like
And
independent publishing. It's the
yeah,
same
that's exactly
concept.
what it is.
It's
So
the exact same concept. It really is. You gave me two quotes that you wanted to share with everybody. The
mhm.
first one was "Find out who you are and do it on purpose" from
Dolly
Dolly
Parton, the
Parton.
one and only.
And the other one was "I'm just going to do what I do, and people will like it or they won't." And that's Ashley McBride.
Mhm.
And actually, I love both of those because they both speak to me loud and
Mhm.
clear, as my husband would say. Can you explain what they mean to you, especially the Dolly Parton one? Find out who you are.
Mhm.
Tell me about that.
I think when I hear that quote, I think of just finding out who you are as a whole, but also I think of it as finding out who you are in your voice and your music and what you want to say and put out to the world,
Mm-hmm.
and then do it very intentionally, unapologetically. That's how I hear that quote. And of course, it's Dolly Parton, so whatever she says is true.
I love Dolly. Quite honestly, I don't know much about country western.
Mhm.
For me, country western is the dog, the truck, and the
The
heartbreak.
beer and the girls.
Right, right. That's country western to me. Now,
Mhm.
some of it's really cool because I happen to like Willie Nelson. I think he's really cool. Especially love his hair. I think it's really just right up there. And that he's my age, or maybe closer to my husband's age. I don't know. He's just older than God,
Mhm.
So I just think
He'll
he's
never
really
go.
cool. Yeah, he's just really cool. And there's lots of country music that I do like, and
Mhm.
whatever. But so Dolly Parton is just a neat character. But then there's Ashley McBride, and I mean, I don't know a whole lot about her, but her quote is pretty cool. "I'm just going to do what I do, and people will like it or they won't." And tell me.
I mean, that's in music, that's in anything in life. I look up to Ashley a lot. We come from very similar backgrounds. And are you familiar with Jonesboro, Arkansas at all?
Yes, I go shopping there.
So, yeah, I used to before the mall got taken by
I
that
know. What
storm.
happened with that mall?
Big tornado came through.
Well, yeah, but still.
That's where we used to go to get school clothes when I was growing up.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was the drum major for the marching band there, I think for about a year. And so she kind of like played in those local bars in those local areas. And I actually have a show in Jonesboro this Saturday.
Oh,
And
where? Tell us.
It's called Unwind. It's kind of a newer, it's like a wine place. They serve food, and they're pretty well known for their wines. So they called it Unwind.
Oh, that's
Right?
cool. I like that.
But so yeah, she kind of played in that area for a while, and just her upbringing and everything. And she said, I think there was a quote from her too, where she said that the very first place that she went, it was like the fourth day that she came from the hospital, she went to a bluegrass festival. So I was like, whoa, same, just both being from Arkansas. And I take a lot of inspiration from just her unapologetic attitude. She speaks about herself and her stories, her trials, and just everything about her life. She actually has a song called "The Devil I Know," and that is her album right now that she's touring with. And so I've taken a lot of inspiration from her, and that quote really just sums up just everything that I want to stand by in music and life in general.
What empowers you to stay true to yourself in your music?
What empowers me to stay true to myself and my music? The fact that I will never be able to please everyone, no matter what I'm doing.
That's exactly right.
You
will not. So first you have to make yourself happy. And then everybody else comes in line.
It's true.
It really does. Can you share a moment when you stayed authentic despite doubts?
Yes. I had to perform at an art museum a couple of years ago, and I felt so out of place. I was like an Arkansas hillbilly walking up and they're singing family tradition and all these songs, and like my goal was to just go in and have fun with it like I always do. And it turns out they really enjoyed it and they know how to party. So we go with it.
There you go. Art people know how to party.
Yeah.
They know how to party. Okay. So how do you handle feedback when others don't like your work?
I used to take it personally. I did. I'll admit it. I used to take it personally and internalize it. I think also just learning through going to school at MTSU, criticism can actually be very useful in shaping just improvement in your craft. And if you can't take constructive criticism, it just leaves no room for growth.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah, it really doesn't. So how do you handle your nerves for performances? I mean, when you go out, do you get nervous? Do you get?
Yeah.
I mean, I get
it's-
nervous.
If it's like a new place, especially, I'll get little nerves
So how do
and
you?
jitters.
I mean, people talk
I
about
like to-
throwing up and doing all
Mhm.
kinds of silly things, or
Well-
have voodoo dolls to hold on to, whatever. What do you do?
So it goes back to Dolly Parton.
Oh,
She'd say, I just go to the bathroom. She said, I go to the bathroom, I piss and I pray. And I do. I go to the bathroom and unwind.
all right. So perfect timing. Go to the bathroom, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to take a break and go to the bathroom. All right, folks, we'll be right back.
In 1857, the Dred Scott decision was a major legal event and catalyst that contributed to the Civil War. The decision declared that Dred Scott could not be free because he was not a citizen. The 14th Amendment, also called the Dred Scott Amendment, granted citizenship to all born or naturalized here in our country and was intended to overturn the U.S. Supreme Court decision on July 9, 1868. The Dred Scott Heritage Foundation is requesting a commemorative stamp to be issued from the U.S. Postal Service to recognize and remember the heritage of this amendment by issuing a stamp with the likeness of the man Dred Scott. But we need your support and the support of thousands of people who would like to see this happen. To achieve this goal, we ask you to download, sign, and share the one-page petition with others. To find the petition, please go to dredscottlives.org and click on the Dred Scott Petition Drive on the right side of the page.
El Potro Restaurant and Market, located at 6920 Manchester Avenue, 1 block east of McCausland, offers the finest variety of Mexican and Central American groceries and goods. El Potro Restaurant serves authentic Mexican and Central American cuisine, including daily specials, not to mention the best horchata and tastiest margaritas in St. Louis. Open 7 days a week. El Potro, 6920 Manchester Avenue, 1 block east of McCausland.
The United States has a strong tradition of welcoming newcomers and refugees. The Welcome Corps is a new service opportunity for Americans inspired to welcome those seeking freedom and safety and in turn help strengthen their own communities. Welcome Corps is a public-private partnership that is inspired by what Americans represent to so many around the world, a beacon of hope and refuge. All it takes is a helping hand. Are you ready to learn more? Contact the International Institute of St. Louis at info@iistl.org or call 314-773-9090. That's info@iistl.org or call 314-773-9090.
Oh my gosh. And we're back. And I thought I was going to sneeze, and I don't know what's going to happen now. Oh my goodness. All right. So, what's your favorite part about performing live?
My favorite part about performing live is just seeing people have a good time
Oh,
and just seeing people connect with you. in the audience as you may say something that they resonate with, or you may just simply be singing a song that they love and they light up. And I love just seeing people get joy from what I'm doing.
And how do you approach collaborating with other musicians? Because you talked about, I mean, sometimes other musicians don't work well with other musicians,
Sure.
Personality. How
Sure.
do you handle that?
I think somebody's attitude has a lot to do with it when we're going into, like, especially recording music. One of my friends, his name is Andrew Faulkner. He's an absolute pleasure to work with, and he's always just such a good hang, and he's very present in the moment, and he's just really good at what he does. And so I enjoy working with people who are just as, I would say, passionate about what I'm doing. And for songwriting in particular, that was something that I definitely had to step into and start learning more about. Like, co-writing is a total different beast.
Why?
It's a certain vulnerability, I think, that it takes to sit and write a song, and you're sharing that with other people. And so I think there just has to be an element of trust that's established
Right.
before you go into that room with them, because I mean, it really is a very vulnerable process. It can be. So
Right. I would think so. It's when you're putting your heart out there for someone else to examine,
right.
that makes you extremely vulnerable. What advice would you give to aspiring songwriters?
My biggest piece of advice that I would give to someone who is just starting songwriting is to, number one, have fun with it. Draw inspiration from the music that made you start doing what you are doing in the first place. And I would also say, don't let that inner critic voice or the opinions of others sway what you're doing. It goes back to, like, we were talking so much about staying true to yourself. And I think that that's a big piece of it, is to not allow other people's opinions of you in general, but of your music to sway, like, what you enjoy doing. Like, some people really enjoy listening to country music and some people really don't. But if you love it and it's what
Stick
you're
to it.
passionate about, stay true to you.
Now, you know how some musicians have crossed over to other types of music. Have you ever seen yourself crossing over to other types of music? Like what?
Oh, yes.
What kind of musics would you?
Like, I started out singing bluegrass, of course, because that's what my family did. It's just
all right.
kind of
So
what we did.
explain to me the difference between bluegrass and country western.
There's a lot of similarities, but bluegrass is typically like the banjos, and it's a little bit quicker and a more traditional style of music.
Okay.
But I mean, I went from bluegrass to, we sang a lot of gospel music, like Southern gospel music.
Okay.
Growing up. And then I actually moved to Memphis for my very first year of college and then transferred to MTSU. So I was opened up to a lot of, like, the blues and jazz and R&B and a lot of different genres.
I love that.
And so I actually found myself kind of writing more bluesy R&B type of stuff. It was completely different than what I'm doing now. So I think I kind of went through a phase where I was experimenting with pop and R&B and all of that, and then just kind of circled back and found myself back at my roots, if you will. So yeah, I would say that just a lot of different genres have influenced
my writing. Kind of blended a little bit
over time. Yeah,
over time.
So.
Yeah. How do you stay connected to your roots in Arkansas?
Well, it's kind of just always there, It's just how I grew up, and I travel back home quite a bit. My family all still lives there, and so I mean, I'm still very involved in that area and just visiting family and friends that I grew up around, and it'll always be, no matter where I go, home. So
it'll always be home.
Yeah.
What's your favorite song?
My favorite song currently, or ever?
Ever. Let's start with ever.
See, I was afraid you were going to say that because I don't know how to answer that.
You don't know how to.
I would say.
Does he know what your favorite song is?
Does he know? Probably not. I don't even think I know. So, man, that's such a tough one. I've been listening to a lot of, let's see, I've been listening to a lot of Lainey. I'd say that's one of my favorite songs right now. Is "Country's Cool Again." It's her newest single.
Country's Cool Again.
I just love it. It's so groovy. It's fun. And I've been kind of going back on some older, like Alison Krauss. We used to listen to that quite a bit when I was growing up, and revisiting some of that. But I don't know, man. I would say that my favorite song right now is probably
What gets you up off the
Country
dance,
School
up
Again.
on the dance floor?
Shania. Anything Shania.
Anything Shania.
Let's go, girls.
Let's go.
Take
Oh,
it
I
down.
love that. Oh, I love that. Okay. So describe the feeling of hearing your song on the radio for the first time.
I would say probably just surreal.
Surreal?
That's how I feel like that's how I would feel. It's just a very surreal, like a quiet sense of accomplishment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are your future plans?
Well, step one is to keep working on this EP that we're recording right now. That's the biggest, and trying to just play more and more live shows.
And
And
now you have a show that you're doing at the
it's called Unwind. It's in
Unwind.
Jonesboro, Arkansas.
right. And do you have anything coming up in Poplar Bluff?
And then Sunday, I have a show at King David's Winery.
Okay.
And then on the 27th of this month, I'm playing at the Rogers Theater in Poplar Bluff. They've just restored that and turned it back into, so, where you can go and watch shows. So we're doing like an Opry style show with a full band.
Okay.
So that one will be really fun. And yeah, so that's about it for this month. And then I've got a couple of shows coming up in Puxico, Missouri. I mean, I've just kind of been traveling a lot locally.
Okay. All right. So how, let's see, what was my next question going to be? Well, actually, the thing that I was going to say was, a lot of people say that poetry and songwriting are real similar. And one of the things that I did was I was trying to look to see what are the differences and similarities between song lyrics and poetry. So what I came up with, because I used to be an English teacher. I taught English for 39 years.
It was my favorite subject.
Was it? Really?
Kudos, yes.
Do you remember your English teacher?
Miss Flowers.
Miss Flowers?
Mhm.
Her name was Flowers?
April
F-L-O-W.
Flowers. Literally April Flowers.
Oh my
Isn't
goodness.
that great?
April Flowers. Oh, I think I would have liked a teacher named
She was
April
sweet.
Flowers.
A girl like April Rains.
Yeah, well, that's true. And I remember a student named Summer Rains.
Yeah.
It was a student named Summer. But anyway, we won't talk about her. But anyway, April Flowers. I like that. That was the English teacher you remember.
Mhm.
Okay.
And Piggott.
Yeah, in Piggott.
Mhm.
Anyway, so what I came up with was their structure. Poetry adheres to a specific forms. Song lyrics do not. Song lyrics can be typically follow verse, chorus, and structure for musical compositions. Rhythm and meter. Poetry has consistent rhythm, but it's not always necessary for song lyrics.
That is true.
Performance, poetry readings typically involve reciting poems aloud without musical outcomes. Song lyrics have. Intended medium, poetry is primarily meant to be read. Of course, song lyrics are not. And then there's repetition a lot with song lyrics when you don't always have that in poetry. But the similarities are imagery, figurative language, emotion, theme exploration, and creativity. So you do have those things. So we're going to have you sing us another song.
All right.
Okay. And what's the song you want to sing?
This one will also be on the EP, and this one is called Clay County Country.
Clay County Country.
Mhm.
Okay.
Clay County is where I grew up, and so I thought it would only be fair to pay tribute to my roots through this one.
Absolutely. Let's do this.
Well, the roadie has got her guitar.
Yeah.
That's a good roadie.
Yes. Clapping. Ready?
Yes.
When I was younger, I used to listen to the boys in the band and think, man, I want to be them. And now I'm older, now I'm living in the volunteer state. So far it's been pretty great. Well, there's Tennessee whiskey, everyone's dancing, and there's bridesmaids on Broadway singing and screaming, and them old honky tonks, and there's plenty to do. Music never stops playing. It's a heavenly. There ain't nothing like watching that sunset in Clay County Country. Back then we played in the cotton and made love in the cornfields. The rice brought mosquitoes right to our front doors. And when I go home, I wonder if they all understand why I'm saying goodbye. Well, there's Tennessee whiskey, everyone's dancing. There's bridesmaids on Broadway singing and singing that old rocky top, and there's plenty to do. Music never stops playing. Man, it's a beat. There ain't nothing like watching that sunset in Clay County Country. Like driving down the gravel road, thinking maybe I should call my mama in the morning. Man, I sure miss her. 'Cause there ain't nothing. No, there ain't nothing like Clay County Country.
That is excellent.
Clay County Country.
All right. Now, how can people get in touch with you? If they want to get in touch with you.
Mhm. So, Music Megan Lee is my handle for Instagram,
Mhm.
TikTok, all of that. And then Megan Lee or Megan Johnson on Facebook. And then, of course, I'll be posting all about live shows and promoting the EP when we're ready to start promoting all of that when we get it out.
All right. And they could also get in touch with me at authorsedge.com. They could get in touch with me at Blue Rooster Company. They could get in touch with me at GailFreer.com.
And they should.
Yeah, because I will also. Yeah. So, and this will be on YouTube. This will be on a variety of places, from what I understand. Right, Mark? Okay. All righty. Is there anything else that you would like to chat with us about?
No, but I do want to say thank you so much for having me. And it has been such a pleasure to get to chat with you and just share a little bit
It
about
has been
myself.
so fun having you on our show. And we're just tickled to death. Okay. I think that's going to wrap us up for today. Thank you for
All right.
tuning in to
See ya.
Author's Edge. Tune in again next week for more tips, resources, and your favorite conversations. Our next guest will be Anna Grace, and we will be chatting with her about her first book, Familiar Strangers. And I think there are ghosts in it. I'm not sure. Till then, see you around the inkwell.